All right, we're gonna end with this one right here. So this is our setup here for a clutch brake system, but this is a pneumatic clutch brake system. All right. So what does that all mean? Well, what that means is you're still doing the whole the clutching and the braking, but in this case, as opposed to what we were just looking at, that was electrically clutched and braked or stopped, if you would. And in this case, we're actually going to use pneumatics to push some things around in order to, one, make the drive unit connect to the motor, and two, release the drive unit from the motor and to actually stop whatever inertial load is on there. So what are we going to need for that? Well, we're going to need this right here. And it's really, this is low stakes. There's very little for you to do. We have to connect power, so I've already done that. And it's into the floor here, so I can turn this thing on and off. But the next thing that we're going to need is a power source. So in the drawer in the front here, you're going to notice that there's this blue line right here. So what we're going to have to do is find somewhere in the shop, okay, that we actually have the shop air, and we're going to have to connect this into it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how this works. So this right here, there's only one space right there on the valve, and it may be a little bit hard to see, but there's only one open space that's pushed to connect. And we can take this tube and we can shove that in there. And now we just need to find air for this particular fitting here. So what I'm going to do is walk around behind you. And I know you can't see me over there, but I'm going to make sure that the air is on, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this unit in. So I found the air for our shop, and I'm going to plug this in, and now we can go ahead and take the next steps. So now that we have this, all right, without anything running, we can see here, and it may be a little difficult to see, but as I move this, different things are happening. So this is a two-way pneumatic valve. And so when I move in one direction, okay, it's actually clamping this little brake caliper here, and now I can't rotate this. In neutral, nothing's happening. But when I go the opposite way, what's happening is if you notice that the clutch here has engaged in a manner to where now it's rotating the motor. Neutral, okay, see that it released and now no longer is doing anything with the belt. And then brake, and now it stops. Okay, so what I want you to do is just kind of keep an eye on what's happening here. There's a few other things that I'm going to show you in the end, so you can play around with the differences of what happens and how fast it happens. But let's go ahead and fire this thing up. So I'm going to fire it up. All right, notice it's in neutral because this thing is barely, it's kind of creeping. But what I can do is I can push the brake on, and now it's no longer creeping whatsoever. Now, if I want, I can go back to neutral. The creeping is starting to happen again, and now I can engage the clutch. And we're driving our system back to neutral. Now I can stop it very quickly. All right. Now, what I'm talking about as far as these gauges, I'm going to pick you up for this last part of the video. And I'm going to move you over here so you can see. Now, notice that there's some gauges here. I have about a little over 30 PSI on that one. I have nothing on this one. Well, the reason being is because this is measuring, and also it is controlling the amount of air pressure I'm putting on the brake. So if I need more air pressure on the brake or less, I can make this adjustment here, all right, and I can create more. So if I want it to stop faster or slower, I can make this adjustment. So let me turn that brake down, okay? Let me find out what my clutch is at. My clutch is at about 30, that's fine. Doesn't really matter, it's just really how fast this thing starts to engage. And then what I'm gonna do is go back and brake. So let's look at it up here on the actual. Now notice that it stopped a little slower that time. Let's go ahead and see what happens when we increase the power. And now we're about 40 PSI. So let's see what that looks like. Now 40 PSI. Wow, that was a lot faster. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of this one here. We're going to play with this and kind of understand how the clutch and the brake works. Pneumatic clutch brake, you can see it out in industry, so that's why we actually covered it right here. But this right here is the last lab for the clutch and brakes, and that wraps that up.